wide receiver. Josiah Abdullah committed for the 2025 class already. One of my top priorities, Will, for this cycle is to get a big-bodied receiver to go along with all the speed the staff has recruited the last couple of classes. And then I think we go there and while not highly ranked, not really ranked at all, but the name that comes up, he will be ranked probably pretty soon. Ashton Ansley fits that big body bill. Look, last cycle, Florida landed 2 wide receivers. Jeray Hawkins comes in 5'9", 165 pounds. Tawaski Abrams measures 5'11", 175 pounds. Well, Ashton Ansley comes from the state of Texas, measures 6'5", has said Florida is his leader. He's not rated by 24/7 or on 3 at the moment, but has offers from Ole Miss, South Carolina, Louisiana Tech, Arkansas State. Past fall, 32 receptions, 689 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Did go on to say this offer means a lot to me because it was one of my lists for my top schools I wanted to consider playing for. Ansley told Gators Online. My family and I already plan on coming to visit for the spring game and also Friday Night Lights this summer. I think it would be great to have to be coached by Billy Gonzalez, have him coach me up, see how he coaches firsthand. I know he has coached a great wide receivers and would love to learn in a camp setting from someone who could be my next position coach. Ansley notes that the program meets much of his criteria. Florida fan base making him feel welcome already, even though he hasn't visited campus just yet. He's also conducting research on the program and the university as a whole. Does say Florida's a national program, school that historically wins, championships. I love the Gators colors. Plus, they have amazing fans who have shown me so much love. I love how the stadium looks. Can't wait to see how it looks live on game day. Very excited to see a few games. But, Will, I talked about earlier, DJ Lagway and the effect that he makes, and Ansley being from the state of Texas. Well, DJ Lagway is a significant draw. The Florida quarterback has that presence right here for Ansley. Both natives of the Lone Star State that have plenty of practice sessions and can now officially join forces with Ansley if Ansley were to choose Florida. DJ and I have a great relationship, and I enjoy training with him. Dude pushes everyone to get better. Plus, he's a really good person. He talks a lot about the Gators. He's an amazing player. It's a blessing to now have the opportunity to be his teammate. I believe the program is building in the right direction from what I've seen. I've watched a lot of games since DJ committed there and wanted to see what the team looked like. A few points here or there changes the record a lot. I can't wait to get up there and learn more about the culture of the team and vision of the program. Florida is at the top, and DJ Lagway is definitely a reason why, said Ansley. In addition to his offers, the 2025 prospect is receiving interest from Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and LSU, among others. We'll get into more just a bit, Will, but like I said, not ranked, not really knowing a whole lot about him, but Ashton Ansley, big-bodied receiver, as I said. Florida's recruited a ton of speed at the receiver position since Billy Napier's taken over. And I know we go back to the last staff, and they probably recruited too many big bodies. And those guys still really haven't panned out. But with all the speed Billy Napier's recruited, it would be nice to get a big body they can count on there.
Yeah, it's funny. I hadn't heard of Ashton Ansley until you sent his name over, and then I started looking, and I go, averaged 21.5 yards per reception last year. Averaged 21.1 yards per reception his sophomore season, and caught 53 passes over those 2 years. That's some real-time production. And the fact that he's 6'5" and putting up that sort of production means you think about like when the profiles of receivers who come in, you sort of look at guys who profile because of their skill set, and then you see guys who profile because of their productivity. And, anybody who saw Johnny Wilson for Florida State the last couple of years go up and get a ball and just annoy the crap out of you because they'd get a first down when basically just Jordan Travis chucked it up and he went and got it. This is the kind of ability that a guy like Ansley has. You start looking at the film on him a little bit, you go, yeah, okay, I can see it. So we'll see where he comes in the rankings. Obviously, he's got a ways to climb because he's not ranked right now. But a relationship with Lagway, obviously, that becomes important. I'm glad he likes the colors. I do too. And we'll see how it progresses. I think, again, I always sort of talk about recruiting as you want to look at a position grouping and see who gets brought in. And so you don't just want, like you mentioned, you don't want to bring in 4 guys who are 6'4", and you don't want to bring in 4 guys who are 5'11". Like, you want to bring in guys who sort of fit the different profiles of what you're looking for, so that you can mesh them together with different concepts, different routes, different things like that. So we saw that last year a little bit with Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell, and then obviously Trey Wilson. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of that this year. And a guy like Ansley sort of fits the Mizell type profile, though Mizell is much more of a burner, and Ansley's going to be more, hey, go win the battle because you're tall. But same general principle where you're putting a guy out on the outside and, throw it up to Plaxico Burress and let him go get it.
All right, let's get into even more of these names, and we will start at the top here. Caleb Cunningham, 5-star wide receiver out of Mississippi, just released his visit schedule yesterday. Released it for this spring, and the Gators will get a spring game visit on April 13th from Caleb Cunningham. Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, LSU, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee made the cut for the 5-star. He's looking at a decision closer to National Signing Day, so some time here. Also likes the prospect of playing with DJ Lagway, but it seems it'll be really hard to get him out of the state of Mississippi. And new Mississippi State head coach Jeff Levy is personally helping lead this one for the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs are thought to be the team to beat for the in-state 5-star receiver. Vernell Brown III, the legacy 4-star athlete's reputation continues to improve. While he is a legacy, he does not want that to influence the decision from either side. He doesn't want Florida pushing it. Florida's not pushing it, and he's not really just stapled into Florida because he is a legacy. Of course, his father has both worked for and played in the program, as have his grandfather and uncles. Despite those deep ties, Brown is attempting to keep them separate from his recruitment process. He has a long-standing relationship with wide receiver coach Billy Gonzalez, of course. As far as decision timeline for Brown, he told 24/7 Sports, hopefully the picture is clear enough for me to make a decision before the season, but if not, it won't be long into the season if it takes that long. So where does Florida fit right now? Quote, he says they are in the mix, but it's not like Florida is the school to beat. In 2023, the two-way player for Orlando Jones, and also doubled as a primary return man, caught 70 passes for 1,363 yards, 10 touchdowns on offense, while scoring 4 times on special teams, 3 punt returns, and a kickoff return. Recently at the Under Armour camp in Orlando, got labeled as, quote, a route running specialist, has a dangerous release from the line, and is able to go out and make some incredible catches, can get acrobatic when it's time to make the tough catch. Next up's Kobe Howard, a 4-star, just transferred to Chaminade Madonna Prep, caught 65 passes last season for 1,065 yards, 8 touchdowns as a junior at Western. Helped the Wildcats reach regional finals in Florida's 4M playoffs. Also carried the ball 26 times for 225 yards and 4 touchdowns while passing for 108 yards. Returned to punt for a score on special teams. 2022, he missed a significant chunk of his sophomore season due to an injury. Still caught 13 passes for 176 yards and a touchdown in 2 games. But as a freshman in 2021, caught 70 passes for 808 yards and 8 touchdowns at Pensacola Catholic. Brown told Swamp 24/7's Blake Alderman he has a date in mind early in the month of March for a visit after missing one earlier this year. He has it scheduled for March the 8th, so I think that'll be when I'll be there, he told Swamp 24/7. I want to talk with them again, get a good idea of how they want to use me in their offense. Just going around seeing how it's just to be a Florida Gators student. Just getting a chance to come back and build an even better relationship with the coaches. 5'11", 185 pound. Plans to revisit Florida as well as a few more in-state programs. Currently, Florida State is the team that appeals most to Howard. He is most likely to make a decision before his senior year, following more visits this spring and summer. Cortez Mills is another name, 4-star wide receiver, ranked 130th overall. He had a stellar 2023 season as a junior, and for Homestead, he led the team in receiving, paving the way for a Florida 3M title appearance, 79 passes, racking up 1,640 yards, scoring 18 touchdowns. His performance earned him a spot in Miami Herald all-day 4M, 3M selection. few days ago, he said there are currently 5 programs that are standing out the most: Clemson, Miami, LSU, Nebraska, and Penn State, and is considering other schools such as Florida State and Georgia, who you may visit in March. The thought is Florida is still in this, but a lot of ground to make up, but does have an official visit set up June 7th through the 9th. And also rounded out here, Dalen Upshaw, 3-star recruit from Alabama, has announced multiple upcoming visits to Florida. According to On3, Upshaw stands 5'11", 175 pounds, 3-star recruit. However, his offer list from several Power 5 programs suggests a higher grade than his 3-star rating implies. This list includes Florida, Auburn, Florida State, Georgia, Texas, among others. Upshaw mentioned Auburn, Florida State, Miami, Tennessee, and UCF would receive official visits. So a lot of talent here. Will don't know where Florida will get their next wide receiver commitment here, but Vernell Brown, I think, is the obvious name. I know he doesn't want to use the legacy thing on his. Florida's not pushing it on him, but I do think that's ideally where you probably start here if you want to add another wide receiver into the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida obviously would love to add another wide receiver to the mix. The current commit is like one of those 5'10", 190-pound guys. So if you're looking at this from that perspective, then a guy like Ansley who's 6'5", or a guy like Cunningham who's 6'3", as opposed to Brown 5'10", Howard 5'11", and then you got Cortez Mills at 6'1", and Dalen Upshaw at 5'11". So do you want that many guys who are 5'11"? Probably not. And so the question is, which one of those guys are the guys that you're going to target? I mean, you mentioned the stats. The one that really jumped out to me was Kobe Howard. He's out of Davie, Florida. So, hey, it's somebody who's relatively close to home. 65 catches his junior year, but then he also had 26 rushes for 224 yards. So you think about sort of insurance for Trey Wilson. That's sort of what I'm thinking when you look at Kobe Howard. Obviously, Caleb Cunningham is the guy with the huge upside. At the same time, how many times has Florida really been able to deliver on that 5-star guy at the wide receiver position? Been a long time since we've had a 5-star recruit out there at the wide receiver position. I'm not holding my breath on that one.
I mean, you just have the number 1 in the state of Florida get away to go to Ohio State. I don't know how you go pull the number 1 and he's in Mississippi.
Well, I mean, I think
number 2 overall. I'm sorry.
I think the reality is that this is one of the reasons why when I look at the overall season and say what would a successful 2024 season look like, it involves DJ Lagway going out there and chucking the ball around. Because how do you sell a guy on the program if you're selling him on sort of a middling offense that's not going downfield? It's hard to do, right? And if Lagway's out there and is a star, or at least we can see that he has the ability to be a star, and the recruits can see that he has the ability to be a star, and it's his job in 2025, and everybody knows it. Well, okay, is there a Pied Piper effect to some of these guys who are recruits who are going to come in and start right away? So you think about Luther Burden at Missouri, comes in, he's starting right off the bat, jumps right in front of everybody on the depth chart. A guy like Cunningham has the ability to do that. So like you mentioned, Brown, probably the guy that you look at and say, this is the guy who we have if we want him. And I know he's saying, don't use the legacy stuff, but that stuff matters. It does. And so Brown's probably the guy that you sort of target in terms of, hey, worst case scenario, quote unquote, that's where we end up. But I think if you added a guy like Howard, that'd be a big deal. And then obviously if you bring in a guy like Cunningham, that'd be a huge deal as well.
Yeah, I think off the list here, Ansley, just the way he talks about Lagway in Florida, and Vernell Brown, I think that's the next 2 likely. Would give you 3, and not really top of the top. Vernell Brown around that 250 range on 24/7, around the 300 range on 3, listed as an athlete, listed as a wide receiver. There, but Ansley, as I said, given the big body type, Vernell Brown, the third, kind of the do-it-all type. So not top of the top, but would give you some versatility right here in the wide receiver room.